This is that Ted Williams 4-power scope. You get a close up here, you can just see just a lot of dirt. Very, very dirty. Seen a lot of use, or a lot of storage, or both. And it says Ted Williams 4-power Sears, made in USA. Can be kind of a neat old scope. The first thing I'm going to do is take these scope rings off. For one, I don't think they really match the scope. So I've got a 7/64 Allen wrench, and we're going to just take these off. That's not so bad. Looks like a much later or much newer set of scope rings than the scope itself. I'm just going to take these completely off. They weren't very tight. Kind of makes me wonder about how it was mounted on there. So take these two off. You can see there's a little bit of, I don't know if you're picking up the amount of dirt was behind those rings. We'll get that cleaned up. Move these scope rings off to the side. We'll save them for maybe another project. We won't throw them away. Then we'll go and take these caps. That wasn't so bad. That's twisting right off. There you can see if we turn to the right, move our point of impact, or move our, oh, that's coming off too. No pliers needed. That was nice. Just a little dirty. All right. Well, where do we go from here? We'll take these mounts off next. I got a screwdriver. We'll hit these screw heads. Tell you how to know if you have the right size screwdriver in the screw slot. That's how you tell you got the right size screwdriver. There's not wobbling. It's not gonna, spin out of there. How many times have you seen a buggered up screw head because somebody used the wrong size screwdriver? We get an exact fitting screwdriver, and you don't mess up the head of the screw. Look at that. Do the same thing with this one. If you have an appropriately sized screwdriver, you should be able to take a screw apart, put it back in. This is spring loaded. Hold that down, relieve that spring pressure. There we go. All right. We'll do the same now. So that was there. Don't get these mixed up. Again, we'll hold that down. It's going to be under some pressure. Take that screw off. There we go. All right. So we'll set them down in the order that they came off. And it's just dirty. We'll give that a good clean up. Something I want to use for the barrel list, I've got 4/0 steel wool. That's very, very fine, very, 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 very almost like cotton candy. And I'm going to use a little bit of WD-40 on there instead of. You could use gun oil here. I just want to lube it up a little bit. We'll rub this down with that WD-40 and that 4/0 steel wool. It's going to clean the barrel of that scope up. Right behind where the rings were, behind where the windage and elevation adjustment knobs were. And that's already looking, it's almost like magic. It looks almost new again. So the reason I like the WD-40 is not that it's a great lubricant. I mean, it's okay. But mostly it's more of a rust preventative, that water displacement. And you can see on the steel wool it got dirty. Let's take a cleaning patch. And we'll wipe that WD-40 and we'll see how much dirt and stuff we actually took off this scope. We'll look at that nice clean white patch. Oh, it was clean a moment ago, huh? So just that little bit of steel wool and that little bit of WD-40 is able to lift a lot of dirt. Actually more than I expected. Because the scope looked pretty good, other than there's some dirt on it obviously, but it didn't look that bad. But underneath those rings, and underneath those mounts adjustments, we're just getting a lot of dirt off. And now that's actually a pretty good looking tube there on that scope. It's actually that doesn't look bad at all. This is cleaning up. It's cleaned up nice so far. I transferred these caps and the screws to this. It's actually a cookie sheet, and that's really nice. I can catch parts, and also if I'm going to use anything like my WD-40 or lube or alcohol or mineral spirits, whatever it is I'm using to clean up, it's not going to get on my bench, and it's easy. I'm not going to lose any parts, and it's easy to kind of clean up afterward. But I'm just going to keep using that WD-40 as a little lubricant, not necessarily as a great cleaning agent. And with this is a soft nylon bristle brush, I'm going to try to clean the knurling on those caps. Clean the threads, clean that knurling out. We'll just see what kind of caps we got, how they're looking once they're all cleaned up. Got that this nylon bristle. It's not going to hurt the bluing. It's not really going to, polish anything away or scrape anything, or it's not going to leave scratches. Whereas if I use a wire brush, it would probably take the bluing right off. And that's the last thing we want to do is go ahead and have to re-blue these if they're not going to be, if they're just dirty. We don't want to strip it. If it's going to have a nice original finish, let's try to leave that on as much as we can. But we'll go ahead and hit these caps with this brush, and you see even the white line is kind of cleaning up a little bit. So I'll do the other one. You don't need to watch all this. We've got them both brushed out. I'm just going to wipe them again with just a cleaning patch. This one here I thought was rusted, and all that knurling was like that brown color, and it cleaned up really, really well, honestly. And it's not rusted, it was just dirt. And even that white line, which I didn't even think was all there, looked like there was gaps in it, that actually cleaned it pretty well. This cap looks way better than I expected it would. There are some scuffs where it did lose some bluing, so it's not going to look brand new. But like I tell my boys, things are only new once. You're not going to make it new again. We're just going to make it better than it was, right? But that's not a good rule either. When I tell them to clean the room, I don't mean to make it cleaner than it was. I want it clean. But it's actually looking pretty respectable. We'll get a new patch. We'll take a look at the other cap. You never have too many patches in your shop. This one here. Again, they're worn. You can see places you're missing some of the white line, and there's some bluing worn off. This scope had been around. It's obviously was somebody's hunting rifle. That'd be my guess anyway. We'll get this all cleaned up. We can't make it new again, but we can at least make it clean. And we're getting quite a bit of dirt on the patch. Quite a bit of stuff coming off of this. We'll get the threads cleaned up. I hit this with like I said, just that nylon brush and some WD-40. WD-40 is good for like lifting off the dirt and kind of floats it up a little bit, so it does get brushed away. Whereas if we did just a dry brush, we wouldn't have the same effect. You kind of make a little mud slurry and then brush it all away with that WD-40. But this one here, we did lose some of that white line. I'm going to see if I can maybe redo that. Yeah, clean it up a lot better than it was. This is now respectable. I could put that on a rifle, not think too bad of it. If it goes on a dirty old rifle, it'll actually look pretty good. If it goes on a brand new rifle, it's going to look old and dirty. All right, now we'll do the same with these little screws. You can just kind of see that screw head and how well you're seeing that. It looks, yeah, I'm seeing it great. I don't know how well you're seeing it through the monitor. We're just going to take the brush, clean this thing out of that screw. There we go. We'll clean that screw head up. We'll do that with all four. And I don't know if I'm going to edit this out or not. I'm just leaving the video running. I'll edit it later, but you guys may see this, you may not. Again, this is just there's a little bit of WD-40 left on the brush from doing the caps. I'm just knocking the dirt off these screw heads. Now the screwdriver, the bit will fit in there much better, and they clean the threads up. They'll go into the hole much better. All right, so we got the caps and the screws pretty well cleaned up. These I don't want to mess with. Just gonna wipe these down again with another clean patch. Got a little bit of WD-40 still on my fingers, but I'm not really gonna spray these or wet these down at all. Not too bad. What I'll do when I put this back together, I'll put a little bit of lithium grease on there, so when it does go in, that adjustment will be a little bit smoother. But I'll keep that to a minimum. Don't want to grease it up, just want to put a little dab on there. But that's just wiping that off. That's got like a blue, not blued, but more like a anodized, almost like a paint on there. And again, I'm keeping them in the same order, so I don't get them mixed up in what goes where. But just wiping these off. Let me get a little brush in there. Get that. Whatever. Well, that's just okay. I know what that is. We'll get that all cleaned up. And then again, I'll apply a little dab of grease on that surface there. But that's clean for now. All right. You see, it says right. Be our adjustment for windage. This one here it says up. We'll rotate this one. It says up. That'll be our elevation adjustment. All right, let's get back to that scope body. We'll move this tray out of the way. Get back to that scope body. It's looking respectable. I'm going to hit this. Just put a little bit of. Again, that's just WD-40. It's nothing special. Just want to rub that down. And that. Here's where it says Ted Williams on it. My first pair of hunting boots that I bought when I was still in high school, back in the early 80s. They were a pair of Ted Williams hunting boots. If you guys don't know who Ted Williams is, you should be ashamed of yourself. One of the greatest baseball players of all time. Also a great outdoorsman. The stories you hear about Ted Williams and his abilities, and he was an amazing athlete. And retired with what was it, the 406 batting average? Lifetime batting average? How about that? Beat that, anybody? Greatest hitter of all time. But also they said he was a great fly fisherman too. They said, I've heard stories about him at like 40 yards, he could drop a fly onto a matchbook. Just an amazing guy. Let's see here, we can see that. Is that coming up? We see Ted Williams, Sears, 4-Power, USA, then a patent number. But this is an old scope. I don't know, can you still buy scopes at Sears? I'll just hit these little spots here. I don't think these are pits. I don't think it's even really rust. It's kind of maybe just a little freckling. Some specks on there. Then, like I said, this 4-aught steel wool, it's not going to remove bluing. In fact, if you wanted to clean the windshield of your car, you can use 4-aught steel wool and really clean up the windshield of your car and get all the bug dirt off there. I'm going to polish up your windshield one time. But you can see what it's doing to this bluing. We're taking any type of little rust or dirt or any of that leftover years of by experience. We're taking all that off. We'll hit it now with a clean patch. We'll see how we're doing. This is a clean white patch. You can see the amount of crap we got off of there. And that nice smooth bluing is now looking even nicer and smoother. Not too, that was pretty dirty, huh? All right, let's address these lenses. All right, real nice old glass lenses. I'm just gonna use some isopropyl alcohol on a Q-tip. We'll put a little on, just a little on a Q-tip. That's a little too much. I'm just gonna hit these lenses. If you're worried about using alcohol and your lenses don't, you go on a lot of camera sites, they'll recommend you use isopropyl alcohol on the lenses of your camera. And that's the amount of dirt we're taking off there. We'll keep this on. But that's a lot of yuckiness coming off it should be a clean lens, right? Again, we just got a little bit of, let me start with a brand new Q-tip. Brand new Q-tip. We'll put just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on there. And I'm just gonna hit this lens. Around the edges. That's where all your dirt seems to want to hide. How do we do? That's not too bad. We'll take the dry end, just kind of buff it a little bit. And now you see, got a couple little clouds there. We'll get the clouding off. And that, look at that. That is a much better lens. So the two lenses cleaned up pretty well. We'll take that dry end. We'll buff this one out a little bit. Just a little bit of cloud in there. I say clouds, it's just kind of some streaks left over, that's all. We'll get that all polished up. How about that? Pretty neat. All right, I got two good lenses, nice clean lenses, nice clean body. Let's put this thing back together. That was a quick little cleanup. This is gonna look like well, it's never gonna look new again, like I said, but it'll be pretty darn respectable by the time we get it all put it back together. A little bit of spring against the tube. We'll drop our screws in. Take that perfectly fitting screwdriver. Oops. Just screw that in. That'll hold us down. We'll get one of the other cleaned up screws. Just a little snug. I'm not going real tight with these. I probably should be using a torque or a screwdriver, but for now I'm just going to tighten this. Now, like I said, not even really snug. And I'm just going to orient this so the two click adjusters, the little stops there, are both in the same direction. So we've got this orientated correctly. We'll drop our screws back in. And you notice the screwdriver not only has to fit the screw, it has to fit the screw hole. You don't want the screwdriver wider than the screw head, and it'll scratch up the area around the outside of the hole. So that nice black anodizing is still nice and black. We're not scratching up anything around the screw. So our screwdriver bit, the little tip there, is the exact same width and diameter as the screw head. So we know we're not going to scratch up the area around the screw head. And being careful to keep that screwdriver centered in the screw itself. We're not leaving a scratch all the way around the surface of it. And that cleaned up really nice. How about that? Put it all back together. We've got our cleaned up scope caps. Oh, let's get that. I'm gonna try this on the other one. That seems to thread better there. Screw that in. We'll reach over right in front of the camera. Put my arm right in front of the camera. We'll see this one screws. There we go. All right. That's looking, well, at least 10% better, huh? But there's that Ted Williams Sears scope all cleaned up now, looking quite respectable. I'll put a different pair of rings on there. We'll get this mounted on my old Sears rifle. Ta-da! Hey, that wasn't so bad. All right.